Okay, good afternoon, Pathfinders. I hope you're all well. Welcome to the Pathfinder Seed Honor. I'm Simon Facey, who...
You're peaking again with your microphone. It's too close to you. You just need to let it go a little bit further away.
Okay, that's fine. So today we're going to look at the Pathfinder Seed Honor, everyone, taken by myself, Simon Facey, one of the area coordinators in the NEC and also a part of the BEC. So guys, today, first of all, I hope you've got your workbooks available. If you just make Pastor Dejan aware, I'll give you a quick moment to get them out. They are available on the BUC website, and also you'll have the opportunity to pick them up from this presentation as well. So, as you're aware, this honor requires quite a few things. There are going to be 9 questions and 9 topics that you will have to do and also answer as a part of this honor. The honor is quite in-depth and there's a lot to do, but we're going to go through it. Some of these things you'll have to do in your own time if you've not done them already, and we will look at some of the answers along the way. Okay, are we all ready to start, Pastor?
Yes, we are. We are ready. Once again, your microphone is still a little bit close. Is it possible you can move it further away from you, Simon, just because it becomes a little bit painful on our speakers? Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, I'll talk a little quieter, so that's fine. Okay, so we've now got the worksheet. This is what we're going to do for this honor. We're going to split it into 5 sections. We're going to look at the introduction in terms of, firstly, the seeds themselves. Also, we'll look at some of the seeds that we can identify from Bible stories. We'll also look at the seeds that we need to commit to memory, identifying them, their collection, how their composite is. In addition to that, we'll look at how we need to do things such as collection and cultivation and growth in relation to seeds. And then finally, we will close with a few questions in terms of where do we find seeds in the Bible, some of the texts that we have, as well as how many different types of seeds you'll need to collect for this honor. Okay? So, I have, over this lockdown period, spent a lot of time in our allotment planting seeds. We have planted corn, we've had rhubarb, and many, many others that have started to grow, and also we've managed to harvest some of them. So here are a few pictures of some of the seeds, plants that we have grown over this time. It's been a great opportunity, especially to go out into the sunshine as the permitted hours or so that we were allowed to spend outside and get that exercise. So mine was done spent planting. Okay. So the next slide, there was a quote that was mentioned by a man called Robert H. Schuller, and that quote said, "Any fool can count the seeds in an apple. Only God counts all the apples in one seed." So we're going to go into the introduction of seeds. And in this, we're going to look at, for instance, the purposes that we use seeds for. Now, seeds is an embryonic plant enclosed in a protective outer covering. So the formation of seeds are part of a process of reproduction in seed plants. And the spermatophyte, including the gymnosperm and the angiosperm plants. Seeds are a product of the ripened ovule, and after fertilization, by pollen and some growth within the mother plant, the embryo is developed from a zygote, and the seeds coat from the integument of the ovula. Now, seeds are very, very important, and in terms of their reproduction, their success of gymnosperm and angiosperm plants relative to more primitive plants such as ferns, mosses, and etc., which do not have seeds and use water-dependent means to propagate themselves. Now, in terms of seeds, The general meaning is that anything can be grown and sowed. Seeds such as potato or corn or even sunflower. They're always enclosed in shells wherever they are and whatever they are, and they have many forms of structures, commonly referred to as an actual seed. Okay, so the first thing that you will need to look at regarding this for your requirement and your honor is, what are the main purposes of seeds? So, the main purposes of seeds are, can anyone tell me? Past, if you could see what the answers are coming through. So what are the main purposes of seeds?
Yes, Simon, that's no problem at all. We just enabled our chat, so chat is open for you to for reproduction, for reproduction, for growth. That's the main.
That's right. So that's right. So the main purpose for seeds is to grow new plants and thus propagating of species. Okay, so that is absolutely key for seeds and the purpose of them. So the Garden of Eden. We all know about the Garden of Eden. I have a few pictures here based upon people's depiction of the Garden of Eden. So the first picture depicts a theologian's view, okay, of the Garden of Eden. And it's of a view of the location and what the composition of the view of the Garden of Eden looked like to them. And in the second picture in the top right, it looks at fruits and what we would have expected to find in the Garden of Eden. As you can see on the third picture in the bottom left-hand corner, it presents an artist's view, Thomas Zach Kincaid, who took the message from Genesis, Genesis 1:1-3, where it talks about the story of creation. And the interesting key point about this is that if you look very, very closely, you can see all the different aspects of the days of creation and how he's represented and placed them into the picture. In addition, you can also see that there is a picture of the tree where the serpent tempted Eve against the forbidden fruit. There are other pictures there as well of the views of the Garden of Eden, including in the bottom right-hand corner, a collection of different types of seeds. So what else do we need to know? Another story, Jesus used to talk about parables in the Bible of many different types of seeds. First of all, if we look at Matthew 13, it talks about the sower and the different soils, and it gives a good example of seeds and how God talked about them in representation. So furthermore about the Garden of Eden, remember the Garden of Eden was perfect. It was placed in a perfect place where plants were able to grow and trees were able to cultivate. The seed was so perfect. Why? Because they were God's perfect creation. And there's just an illustration of where we believe the Garden of Eden was supposed to be located as from the scriptures. So moving on to identifying the seeds, this is something that you will need to do as a part of your honor. So can somebody tell me about the three, what can we see here? The three core main parts of the seed. What do we have? If you put your answers in the box, I will be able to read them, or Pastor can mention. So we have the embryo, yes, that's right. We also have the seed coat. We have the endosperm or the cotyledon, okay? What are the three important main things of these parts of the seed? First of all, the seed coat is the covering which encloses the seed. What is important about this is that It's usually where some of the food is stored, and therefore it has an outer protective covering. What do we know about the cotyledon, or cotyledon, if you want to pronounce it that way? This is a very, very important part of the embryo within the seed of the plant. Now, upon germination, the cotyledon becomes the first leaf of seeding. Therefore, it is the food supply. And the important thing about the embryo is that the seed's embryo includes the cotyledon, which becomes the plant's first leaves, and which becomes the shoot above the leaves, and which also becomes the plant's stem. So this is very, very important. And I have an example of a few different types of seeds here, as you can see in comparison to the picture that we have available identifying the seeds and the main parts. Okay, guys, so on to the next requirement. You will need to understand.
Simon, just again, your microphone yes. Slipped very close to your throat. Are you able to maybe just take it out of your scarf, or maybe yeah, that way?
Is that better now?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay,
yes.
That's better. Okay, so now we're going to look at another important point that you need to look at for your requirements, and it includes scattering of seeds. So the 5 areas that we're going to look at today is gravity, mechanical dispersal, wind, water, animal, and dispersal. Okay? So the funny thing about plants is that they can't move, and they can't pick themselves up. And furthermore, seeds can be used for future generations. So dispersal seeds by various agents are very, very important for survival of seeds. Now we can imagine that all seeds of a plant fell in the small region below the tree. So what will happen to them? The seeds will complete with each other a parent plant for light, nutrients, and water. Thus, chance that not all seeds will grow into healthy plants will be high. Okay. Therefore, as we know, in God's wisdom, in his wisdom, he created 5 ways to help seeds move away from their parent plant so that they can start their own plant. So they are gravity, mechanical dispersion, again, wind, water, and animal dispersion. So here we have an illustration of gravity. Now, the effects of gravity on dispersal of seeds and spore is straightforward. If we see that it is heavy, we'll tend to drop downwards from the parent plant and not travel very far. So the smaller seeds or spores begin much lighter and will be more influenced by the physical movements such as the wind or water, and therefore are not really strictly subject to the motions of gravity. So gravity is good for plants, people, especially for growing on steep slopes. But getting the seeds up the hills is a problem. See, germosperms in the word used to describe the seeds of trees like conifers, and conifers have cones, and their seeds are inside. So they are largely dependent upon gravity for dispersion. The cones open the seeds and drop out. So most conifers are long-lived large shrubs or tall trees, thus taking full advantage of gravitational dispersal and allowing the gradual upslope movements of a population. So most seeds do not disperse by gravity alone and will need wind or storms to help with their dispersal, even the tall conifer trees, okay? So encased in the seeds is a round fruit that promotes gravity-driven movement away from the parent. So an example of that is apples or passion fruits. Now, can you tell me any others? there are others that promote for this kind of movement as well. So here's an example of an apple, a passion fruit, and also a fir tree. Does anyone know any others?
All right, Simon, we are looking for the answer right now. No, nothing coming through, Simon.
Well, there are others like cedars, there are junipers, and there are spruce trees as well, okay, which also hold these seeds. There are also hemlocks. So now that's just one section looking at gravity. Another thing that's really important is the mechanical dispersal. Okay, so some seeds have different shapes that we know of, which allow the seeds to disperse into different ways and take advantage of the wind, the water, or the gravity. So now one of these seeds that you will see growing around you in the gardens is, for instance, a dandelion. Now, you'll notice that if you pick up and blow the dandelion and the seeds go everywhere, you'll realize that you have to actually look at the seed, and what you will notice is that it's not a round shape like most seeds. What you will find is that it has a brown acnes that is attached to the pappus. This shape gives the seed the mechanical means to overcome the tendency of a seed for mechanical means and overcome the tendency of a seed to drop close to the parent. So with mechanical dispersion, you see the seed pods are often shaped, and so that the seeds are flung away from the parent plants and considerably forced as a seed pod matures. So an example of this are sycamore trees. Sycamore trees, they are those that have little helicopters. And in these little helicopters, you might have a little child, pick them and throw them, and they'll spin in the air round and round and round until they fall on the ground. So this is a really clever way that God made the seeds, because they will fall away. And also the interesting thing about this is that the sycamore seeds, as you know, have wings, and they rotate, slowing in descent, and thus allowing the breeze to carry them away further and further away from their parent. So when the seeds strike the ground, it bores into the soil, and therefore eventually will start to grow. So another example of that is touch me not seeds. Now, touch me not seeds, the really interesting thing about this is that the seeds, they tend to dry out in the sun very quickly, and they create this pressure eventually until the seed pod grows. And then if something really, really sensitive disturbs them, they eject a tiny seed in an explosive manner of discharge and pop, hence why they are given that name, touch me not seeds, because of this behavior. So this is another example. Now, the third topic is wind. So we all know what wind is. So this is very common for seed dispersal. It is not necessarily the efficient, but it is also effective. Now, seeds, some seeds have hair on them, which helps the wind to take them away. Others, for instance, like the cottonwood tree that we can see here, this also, the wind tends to carry those away because it's very, very light. But what we also know is we've got another example of dandelions. You might notice and see that we also have the willow tree or the weeping willow. And you see these leaves and seeds dangle over the trees, and when they're blown, they blow away quite wide and far. Another picture here we can see is the ash tree. And when that happens, the pods dry out and then they are carried away by the wind. We also have other examples. Does anyone know of any other examples where wind dispersal happens for seeds on trees?
We just activated the chat to see any answers on that. Any more examples?
Do we see thistles? Yes.
Well, they mentioned dandelions.
Dandelions, that's right. That is one. Dandelions is one. Another one is interesting, milkweeds.
Okay.
Has anyone heard of that? Milkweed?
It is quite, yeah,
Okay.
well, somebody
Okay.
just, well,
A
somebody
few
just
have.
definitely said no.
Indeed. That's very good. That's very good. So another topic we need to look at for this section is water. Okay, so plants that grow in water are likely to utilize water to disperse their seeds. So for example, we have mangroves and their offspring by water. You see, in one mechanism, the seedlings separate from the fruit, leaving the cotyledons behind and floating horizontally on the water surface. And it's carried away by the tidal of the river flow. So another thing is that after a month or two, they also propagate and the seeds turn vertically into the water, as we can see from the illustration. Once it feels bottom or strands, roots start to then develop and leaves start to appear on the upper end, as we can see here. Another one is water lilies. We have a beautiful picture of a water lily seed pod there. And similarly, the dispersion leads of their seeds in the water is that they seem to be carried by the currents. Now, in their mechanism, it's currently seen that in coastal plants, that those that promote flotation of their fruit allow for the seeds to be carried away on the tide and the ocean currents. So an example of that may be the coconut that produces a large dry fiber filled with fruit capable of long survival, and it drifts at the sea. Another one is the Kamani, which produces a globose fruit and is almost like a cork-like shape. So this is what we look at when it's water propagate dispersion. There we can see the picture of the coconut, water dispersal, and also the water lily. Now, we have animal dispersal. So what we can see is that some of the animal dispersal seeds are barbed, meaning that they have a little hook under them, as you can see, which helps them to stick to different objects, especially animals that may brush along them. So some of their fruits have really prickly burr or spikes that are attached. They attach themselves to passing animals. And on their fur, and and also on their feathers, so that the animals will carry them away with them. Now, as some of you will know, I have a cat, and she has really thick, long hair. So often she will go out the house, and then she will come back, and she'll have plants and seeds all stuck to her. So we'll have to comb them out of her continuously because she loves to play in the garden. But you see, when Yasmin goes to the other different neighborhoods and she's walking around, playing around, she's also helping by spreading those seeds. So the seed dispersal, which takes advantage of the animal's ability to move. So that's why the really cool thing that God created for seeds to also travel and disperse to new areas and take them away. So as you are pathfinders and you walk around, you will now notice how seeds act and behave and how plants behave as they get stuck to you. So you know what the reasons for these are. Another thing is that seeds contain within them soft fruits that invites small animals to consume them. So these seeds tend to have kind of tough protective outer coating, so that while the fruits are digested, that the seeds will pass through their hosts and in the host digestive tract whilst it's intact. And when the animals poo it out, the seeds grow wherever they fall. Another really interesting fact. So we sometimes help these seeds process when we eat, for instance, an example, a tomato or a strawberry. As you can see, these are common fruits and seeds that you will consume as well. So some seeds are kind of a little more appalling, especially to rodents, such as squirrels, and they like to have them hidden. And sometimes often beneath the surface of the soil, We find others where, in order for, to avoid starving during the winter and early spring, these seeds are often left uneaten. So that means that they have a chance also to germinate and grow into new plants. So, everyone, some animals that disperse may also eat these seeds. Name me some of the seeds, guys, that you know of that animals may eat, or even you may eat.
Very good question. So let's hear Pathfinders. What do you have for us? Oh, people are saying, oh well, somebody says strawberry. That's a fruit, but what seed is the
Yes, you see
question?
the seeds on the strawberry as well. Yes, a seed as well.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
else? I tell you an interesting one. A banana. I love bananas, but did you know that bananas are also fruits that are also seeds? Apples as well. Does anyone know any others?
Yeah, yeah. People are saying tomatoes, apples, cucumbers.
Indeed. Oaks, acorns,
Yeah.
cocklebears. Yes, there are just a few. So remember, for this requirement, you are required to know the difference between at least 4 methods. We have gone through 5. And also you'll need to name at least 3 of the plants whose seeds are scattered by each of them. So we have just gone through a few of them, some of them that you can see here. Okay. So the next topic is seeds and what we use them for. Okay. So what we know is that God gave us the ground and the seeds that we have the ability to grow our own food from seeds, and therefore the multitudes of the seeds are to provide granting a multitude of different types of food for us to eat. Okay, so 5 areas that we're going to look at very quickly is that what uses are important to us regarding seeds. 5 points. It helps us to save money. Another thing that is important, that food security begins in your backyard. Interesting. Healthy pest and disease resistant plants, and how do some people preserve, for instance, genetic diversity of the heirloom of plants variety, and also seed saving, and how rewarding and easy can it be? So on the point of saving money, we know that seeds represent a great value for money. So investing in that is very, very important. We can package seeds, we can reap huge rewards from these. We know that finding a gardening buddy is great. So I love gardening. I have a gardening buddy, and we go out and we plant and grow our own little fruits, scattering our seeds, and we see them sprout and we see them grow, and eventually we harvest them. So why is that? Because we are able to grow to help ourselves. So we are able to eat. Another thing is the food security. So what about food security? If you want control over being able to grow your own food and plants from seeds that you have, why not start in your own backyard? You see why? You can save a lot of time, and you can actually watch and see and learn as it grows, but also grow your own, which will help you to also save money, and it will also be protective from other issues such as certain kind of genetic diversities, and also possible pest and other diseases that may happen from other seeds that are contaminated, for example. So it's good that you have control over them and you're able to grow and learn about them for yourself so that they are secure. Another thing is that understanding healthy pest and disease resistance implant is that today the seed industry is controlled by kind of like the worldwide corporations, and that's kind of unfortunate in some cases. Hence why we encourage you, and you will read in Ellen White's books, that encourage us to grow our own plants, grow our own food, make our own gardens, plant our own seeds. These are important because a lot of foods now are becoming genetically modified. And therefore that can cause a few problems, and some of them can be actually contaminated as a result. Herbs and seeds, you can buy herbs and seeds in your local stores as well. And it allows you to save, it allows you to see the different types of shapes, experience different types of seed foods and spices, etc. And there's a picture you can see in the top right-hand corner. We have a watermelon. Now, did you know there's a mind of seeds in watermelons? They're absolutely amazing. They taste luscious. So has anyone had a watermelon before? I'm sure you all have. There's yeses coming through. That's right. Indeed.
That's right. That's right, Simon.
Okay. So another thing is we talked about preserving genetically diversity of the heirlooms of plant varieties. So something important in terms of this point is that this simply means that we can all help retain a wider range of editable plants by preserving and saving on at least one or two varieties in our homes. See, the commercial reality is that selling seeds just stops being produced and quietly disappears. So what we don't want to do is lose our ability to grow and plant our own seeds. Okay, so this is really, really important that we learn about our seeds. We learn about how important it is for seeds to germinate, grow, and then replant. And then seed saving. Seed saving is really, really rewarding. Another thing is that I made a curry the other night and I had to use, chop up seeds. I chopped up cucumbers and corianders I placed into the curry. It was very, very tasty. So seeds have the ability to be rewarding to us. And there's nothing better than a good old curry with plenty of spices to fill and tickle the tummy. Here's a few seeds. So you will need to understand, okay, in the next question, what are the different types of seeds and what do we use them in terms of our purposes of foods? So I have a few here: chestnuts, Brazil nuts, barley, pomegranate, cashews. Can anybody name any others? So we do have a few. There's corn.
Yeah, people are mentioning almonds, peanuts.
That's right. There's coconuts.
Yeah.
Another interesting, lentils, millets, mustard seeds. Okay, so they're just a few. There are plenty. So this is what you'll need to know. You'll need to know from memory 10 kinds of seeds. And please note them down as a part of your honor requirements in your workbooks. Okay, so seeds used for oil. So who can cook here? Raise your hands, let's see. Yes, that's right. I can cook also. Now, we use cooking, and we use oils in our cooking, particularly, especially if we're, doing a good cook. So as you can see, there's a picture here of different types of oils. So one of the most popular may be sunflower oils. Who uses sunflower oils? I use sunflower oils. I also use olive oils. That's right. There's corn oil, there's coconut oils as well. Okay, so these are the oils that we can extract from various different nuts. So you need to, for the next question, be able to commit to memory and also describe 5 different types of nuts that we use for cooking. So you'll have a moment. If not, you can do that later and put in different types of oils that we use. I'll give you a hint of another few. Peanuts, that was mentioned as well, and also soya beans. So who eats soya here? I do. Yes, a few others do as well. Okay. We have seeds that we use for spices, everyone. So who loves spicy? I love spicy food. I love hot, spicy food. Keeps the belly tickled and warm. Is that right, Pastor? Do you like spicy foods?
Yeah, sometimes, not always. Serbian cuisine, it's not hot as you guys eat here.
That's right. Well, I love a good hot curry, that's for sure. So, one of the favorite ones that we have that we use for spice is, and I know you all love this, you'll probably see it in the next photo, which is coca seeds. And why is that? Because I know many of you love chocolates. So, this is one of the seeds that I use for spices, such as foods. Another one is foods, such as chickpeas. And we can use chickpea for chickpea curry. We also use peas for rice and peas. I also like to bake a lemon drizzle cake where I may put a few poppy seeds on them. So what you also need to know in your requirements is you'll have to commit to memory at least 5 different types of spices. So who can tell me 1 or 2 different spices that they may use as a part of their cooking?
All right, so here it is. You can see pepper, cayenne pepper.
Yes, that's right. Any others?
Okay, quite a few. They're saying paprika, but paprika, yeah, garlic, and a few others, my friend.
Indeed. So yes, we do have those. We also have nutmegs. We have fennel. We have coriander. We have cumin, dill, and a few others. So they are just some of the 5 types of spices that we use in our cooking. Very, very nice. One of my favorites is vanilla. Definitely vanilla in just about everything. So moving on swiftly there, we can see a few different types of spices. As you can see, there are cloves there. I have cinnamon. There's ginger. I love a good ginger beer. Don't you, Pastor? I know you like ginger beer.
It's a more super malt, but...
You like the super malt, so it's the barley for you. Okay, that's right. We also have the nutmeg there and the garlic. I love garlic bread. Oh, garlic bread is just lovely. So garlic bread is another one. That's just a few of the spices you will see. So what else do we need to know, guys? It's about the condition and the environments. The conditions and the environments we need for seeds to grow and to sprout. So there are a few things that are needed in order to make these seeds sprout or germinate, okay? So these can be broken down into their external factors and their internal factors. So most of the important external factors, as we can see here, are water, oxygens, the temperature, and the light, as well as the correct type of soil conditions. Now, for each variety of seeds requires a different set of variables. So we have a few seeds here, okay? So these are individual seeds, and they are closely linked to the ecological conditions that plants need to grow. So they'll need a lot of sunlight, they'll need water, and they'll need oxygen to grow.
Simon, just if it's possible for you once again to move the microphone a little bit further down.
Okay.
It's really high again.
That's fine.
Just straight, yeah. Just underneath.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. If you're able to take it away, because it keeps it very close to your mouth, and sometimes the sound peaks. So
okay.
Just for the sake of recording, it would be better.
That's fine. That's okay.
Thank you.
That's better. So for water, so seeds need moist. They need moist conditions for them to sprout. So seeds generally are very dry, especially the older ones. So the older ones, what happens is when they are put in the seeds, a seed in a moist condition, it then absorbs the water around them. This causes the seeds to swell, such as this seed, as you can see, has started to swell. So the seeds need to absorb a massive or significant amount of water. And when when they absorb that water, it revives them and brings them back to life. So the first sign that you will see is that of the germination in the absorption of a lot of water, the activating the metabolical functions needed to, for germination and growth. And in that absorbing enough water, the swelling of the embryos grow too, very large for the seeds, and then they burst out of the outer shell and the small plants emerge. So this is quite important because the root tips then, which is the first part of the embryo, start to emerge, and it's anchor in the seed to the soil, allowing the embryo to continue to absorb nutrients and water from the soil. So water also softens the seed coats, allowing it easier for them and for the embryos to burst through. And therefore, the water is also needed to activate the metabolic pathways for the seeds to grow. So the seed stores all of the starch and the nutrients within. However, water is needed to activate the seed to then grow. And this is why the seed that can last for a very long time, and they are kept away from the water. So seeds absorb the water, and then the seeds swell, and then the water activates the seeds' nutritional stores. And in this side, the seed shells and the endosperms, the fruit that nourishes the embryo during this early stage of the growth. Another thing is the growing in light and the growing in darkness. We also have oxygen. So once the seed coats is cracked, the germination seedlings require oxygen. This really is important because if the soil is waterlogged, it then may cut off the necessary oxygen supply and prevent the seed from germinating. So temperature and light, as we can see in this picture, the seeds germinate over a wide range of temperatures and within many different and preferring temperatures, even slightly higher ones than room temperature. Often you will see the seeds start to grow, some of them within a set temperature ranges, especially for sprouting. And those that will not sprout above certain temperatures because of these reasons. So in addition to this, some seeds may require extreme exposure to light or to certain cold temperatures to break dormancy before they can germinate. So another thing is that along this, the seeds in its dormant state, it will not germinate even if the conditions are favorable. Interesting. So for example, seeds requiring the cold of winter temperature are inhibited from germinating if they never experience frost, while some seeds will only germinate when temperatures reach hundreds of degrees, as during, for instance, a forest fire. So without fire, they are unable to crack their seed coats. Now, many seeds are, such as in forest settings, will not germinate until an opening in the canopy, allowing them to receive sufficient light for growing their seedlings. Now, the last point in this area is that stratification. Seeds must be mature and their environmental factors must be favorable before germination can take place. Now, when a mature seed is placed under these favorable conditions and fails to then germinate, it is said that it is dormant. So some seeds need to germinate until they have been dormant for a while. You see, then the length of time that plant seeds remain dormant, they can reduce or eliminate by the simple seed treatments called stratification. So this is important. Seeds should be planted promptly after stratification. You see, stratification mimics the natural processes that weaken the seed's coat before germination. And in nature, guys, some seeds require particular conditions to then germinate. So such as the heat of the fire, for example, in the Australians' native plants, or soaking in the body of water for long periods of time. Others may even have to be passed through the animal's digestive tract to weaken the seed's coat and enable the germination. Okay, so this is an important thing to remember, and it's the 3 points that you will need for the question, which is make a collection of 30 different kinds of seeds, 20 of which you have collected yourselves, and please label them. Some which where you'll need to name them, the date you've collected locally, and also make sure you have them clear and visible to show and you understand their purpose. A way that you can do that is you can go to your local parks, or you can go and start planting seeds in your garden, or even look online or go to other, like botanical gardens. You'll see different types of seeds and the plants and fruits that grow from there. Okay, so that's what you will need to do for your next requirement of the honor. Now, guys, collection of 30 different types of seeds. Remember, it's 30 different kinds, 10 of which from commercial seeds packets, and for others, 20s that you collect for yourself, and remember to label them. Key point, guys, for your requirements. So, guys, we have now come to the end of this honor, okay? You have, we've talked about multiple different things here. We've talked about seeds in the Bible and stories, such as the parables that Jesus mentioned. We've talked about different types of seeds for food. We've talked about the core and main parts of seeds. And we've talked about the importance of keeping seeds and the importance of planting. So many different things in the 9 requirements that are required for this honor. So this brings us to the end of this honor, guys, and thank you for participating. Thank you for listening, and make sure you get your answer sheets in so they can be, is it marked, Pastor? And also handed so you can get your honor.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm gonna just stop sharing your screen and so that we can say thank you. I'm gonna allow you guys to unmute. Let's give a big clap to Simon. And so I say thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.